I'm really so inspired and moved by the feeling of community that we have around this table, kind of all members of the community here. Deeply appreciative and inspired by the stories that we heard in small groups, but also in the sharing before. And then during one part of our conversation here, a question was asked to me, which is, how do you feel kind of being here at the end of the world? And I thought about that and I thought, well, I don't feel like being at the end of the world. I feel like being at the beginning of the world. And I want to validate that with two quick examples. The first one is personal in terms of the development of Theory U. So, sometimes I was asked, when was the moment that the theory really took shape in your mind? And I never had a clear answer because I actually didn't quite know. But during our lunch conversation, I realized when that moment was. I can pinpoint the date. It was with while talking with the Chilean cognitive biologist Francisco Varela. So he shared with me his 3 gestures of becoming aware: suspension, redirection, letting go. Right? When the idea just formed in his mind, it wasn't published yet, the book wasn't out. When I left that conversation, I knew I had been handed a gift. I just didn't know what it was. I needed to unpack it. Because I realized that what he described, suspension, redirection, letting go, the shifts in our awareness and consciousness and how we pay attention, I had seen many times in groups that I was facilitating. So the 3 gestures, right, the 3 turnings, right, are the 4 levels basically, right? You go down from level 1 to level 4. And so that's kind of one axis. And then the other axis, systems thinking, right? You have all these different levels. It's not only an individual process, it's a collective process. You see it in groups and conversations. You see it in organizations. You see it in the evolution of systems. So the result is basically what you see in your mind is the matrix, right? 4 levels and 4 systems levels. And all Theory U was spelling out this matrix with stories. And concept, with experiences. Anyone can do that, right? Because that's our collective social grammar that we enact. Anyone is experiencing all these levels. That's why so many people say, oh, Theory U, when I read that, it put into words what I'm already experiencing. I mean, countless. I heard that infinite numbers, right? And that's really what it was, right? Anyone could have spelled that out. It is kind of, I think, a universal pattern. And of course, kind of, Francisco came from here, right, who was teaching meditation to you. And so that's kind of one, and if there was a moment when Theory U was born, right, that was the moment. But then, there's another reason why we are at the beginning of the world here rather than at the end of the world. And that is, and so my own data point is, I was here 5 years ago, right? And so now coming just 5 years later back, I'm just in awe in terms of how much has shifted and changed. And also with you, right? Because kind of, so 5 years ago, none of this really existed. And it was kind of much more disconnected and just individuals or kind of small groups. And so that shift, I think, is a great teacher for me. I think what happens in Chile right now is of utmost global importance because you are ahead of the curve. What's clashing here, right? Basically, the water crisis, the whole environmental crisis, the social clashes, and kind of everything around mental health and disconnect from our deeper sources. We have that all over the place. We have been moving into that a lot more in so many places. So what's happening here is ahead of the curve. That's why what happens here on a collective level, yes, I know it's very difficult, and yes, I know it's confusing. And guess what? Kind of if you move from one system that's not quite dead yet to another one that's not quite born yet, that's exactly what you get, right? It's confusing, it's contradictory, it's not clear, it's a lot. So, and what is required of us as change makers in these situations and as leaders is calmness, confidence, action confidence, love, and courage. And that's what I see. That's kind of what we need to embody within ourselves first, because we can enact that and activate that in our systems around us. And that's what inspires me. So I see the beginning of, for example, kind of around this table, but also kind of in other kind of small groups we have been working with. I think what I'm really interested in and stunned by is kind of how significant the role of social arts is, of social presence in theater. And I think that's an amazing gift you all have that could be made that could be so helpful for many other transformation processes that are underway in so many other institutions here in Chile. Almost everyone I talked to shifted profoundly, kind of over the past few years, 4 years, their job, their professional essence of what they do. This morning, we talked to one of the biggest companies in Latin America, their leadership team, very old business, and we talked to a minister of the new government. And interestingly, they both talk about the same need, transformation needs that they feel in their core team. So it was articulated as mindset shift in one case, in reorganizing these social governance processes around citizens and citizen participation. And it was in the other case, using the spiritual divide as the anchor for transforming or bridging the social and the ecological divide. So what I'm saying is, even though this old system looks broken and old and will go on forever, you know, even though it's already dead from within, in reality, that's not true. In reality, in all these systems, now as the crisis is deepening, cracks are opening up. And leaders begin to ask new questions, and they need new partners and learning and innovation partners. And you're among the guys who can offer them a lot, because this activation of the potential that everyone feels is not clear is how it's getting activated. And I think with the practices that you have been developing and cultivating, you have a lot of gold that could be brought to that kind of challenge and opportunity. So that is my wish and my hope, and also the inspiration I take out of this week, that the openings and the cracks and the larger system that we see increasingly, opening up, that these that they more and more meet with the skills and the capacities and the learning practice fields that you have been developing, and that kind of this can come together. And the personal transformation we already feel in our own work context is more and more relevant and co-shaping what's happening also on a societal level. Thank you, and I look forward to reconnect more as we take the next steps.